Hi guys, welcome back to my kitchen for another video. In today's video, we're going to be making 6 different takeout favorites, but at home. Hey there, this is future me. Just wanted to let you know, I know that I said I'm making 6, but I'm going to end up only including 4 meals for you because the video is already over 50 minutes long. And the 2 things that I was going to show you, I'm going to have for you in different videos. So you're not missing out by not seeing it in this one. Just hit subscribe so you can see that in the future. We're going to try to imitate our favorite takeout orders at home and see if we can make that match or better than the takeout. So actually, one recipe is something that I've never had before. So let me list them for you, what we're going to be making. So we're going to start off with some Chinese orange chicken with rice, which this is our new one that I've never had before and at a takeout. Because I have, when I go to like Asian restaurants, Chinese restaurants, I like to, that's not something that I go to. I usually go to another thing that we'll be making. So I found this recipe, but I figured it's worth a try. Since recently we've tried some new fruity type of dinner options, I figured, you know what, let's try this orange chicken as well. We might like it. The next thing we'll be making is Mongolian beef with fried rice. So when we make the chicken, the orange chicken, we're going to make some extra rice. We're going to set it in the fridge, and a day or two later, we're going to make the Mongolian beef, and we're going to use that leftover rice, day old rice, to make our fried rice. And the Mongolian beef is something that is my go-to order. So I'm excited to try it at home and see how that goes. It's been a very long time since I've had that because I haven't gone for takeout in a very long time, or at least Chinese takeout. So I'm excited to try that at home. I've been craving it for a while. Next thing we'll be making is some shawarma, which I've already made with you guys before, but I'm excited to make it again in here because it's something that I like to get at takeout. When I order takeout or when I buy takeout as well. The next thing we'll be making is a imitation Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich. This is a recipe that I won't have a link for you. I'll have it as a description because I got it off of a Facebook group many, many years ago. Whoever posted it, she wrote that she recreated the recipe herself, and she had someone who's had the sandwich taste it. Someone who's had the real sandwich taste it, and they said that it tastes very, very close. So I would never know, but it's a delicious chicken sandwich that I've made for many years, and my family loves it. So let's get right into it, and I hope you enjoy this video. Now, if I didn't say, I will have the recipes in the description for you, as well as timestamps. So if you want to make anything that I listed now, if any of them sound exciting, you can jump right ahead. Or if you want to make them along with me, also you can follow along easily. So let's get into it. So the first thing we'll be making is some Chinese orange chicken and white rice. So I'm getting the rice into a pot. I'm going to fill it up with water, get some salt on there, and we're going to cook it according to the package directions, which I believe mine said to steam it, to let it cook, simmer for 15 minutes, let it rest covered for 5 minutes, then flop it and enjoy it. I'm going to move this to a side burner so that I can actually make the chicken on the other side. Now that we got our rice going, we can start working on our chicken. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get out a frying pan. I'm going to get it heating up and add some oil to get that hot as well. Now I'm going to create assembly line to start working with our chicken. So I'm getting out 2 bowls, and in the first bowl I'm going to get in 3 eggs. The second bowl we're going to do a 1/3 cup of cornstarch, a 1/3 cup of flour, and some salt. And then we're going to whisk all of this together. We're going to whisk together the flour with the cornstarch and salt to combine it. And we're going to whisk the eggs to scramble that. Now that I have my breading assembly line prepared, I'm getting the chicken ready. So I'm getting some chicken cutlets cut into nuggets, and I'm dropping it straight into the egg mixture. And once I have all of it cut into bite-sized pieces, I am combining it to make sure that all of the chicken is coated with eggs. I'm going to set this aside until our oil is ready. While I'm waiting for the oil to heat up, I am going to start zesting an orange. I will need this zest for the sauce and for topping our dish. And if you notice, I put in a popcorn seed into the oil, and when it pops, my oil is hot. So now that it has popped, I'm going to get that popcorn out of the oil, and I'm going to start dipping the chicken in with the flour cornstarch mixture and start frying them. I'm going to do it a couple minutes on each side. I'm quickly pulling up the recipe. I turned away from it. You want to cook it up for 2 to 3 minutes, turning often until golden brown. You see, I didn't do the turning often. I just flipped it over once. And then you're going to place it on a paper towel lined plate to drain the extra oil, and repeat this until all the chicken is done. You know, I finished zesting my orange and I got my plate ready with paper towel. I already flipped my chicken, and I am going to start working on the sauce. So I need 1 cup of orange juice. So I'm starting to squeeze the orange juice, the orange that I zested. I'm getting a few more oranges out, and I had 2 more oranges in my house. Both of those brought me pretty close to 1 cup. I needed just a little bit more, so we're topping it off with some bottled orange juice. Our first batch of chicken is done. I got that out. I got a second batch in. Now we're going to actually work on the sauce. So I'm pouring the orange juice into a pot. I'm adding a half a cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar, or you can use white vinegar, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, and I ran out of soy sauce, so I have a little squeeze bottle in my fridge. So I use that for the 2nd tablespoon, a 1/4 teaspoon of ginger, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. I used ginger powder. 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, or you can use 2 garlic cloves finely diced, a half a teaspoon of red chili flakes. Now that I've got all the ingredients in there, I'm going to mix it together, get it over the heat, and we're going to let it heat up for 3 minutes. Now I'm going to get a tablespoon of cornstarch in a ramekin along with 2 tablespoons of water. We're going to mix that together to make a slurry, and then we're going to add that to our sauce, and this will be our thickening agent. Now that I've added the cornstarch to the sauce mixture, I'm going to keep on mixing it every 30 seconds to a minute until I like the consistency of the sauce. Once it reaches a consistency that I'm happy with, I'm going to remove it from the heat, and we're going to get the orange zest that we got earlier, and I'm going to add about 1/2 to 3/4 of that zest into the sauce and give that a mix as well, and set it aside until all of our chicken is done frying. Now that I've got almost all of my chicken done, I know that not everyone in my family is going to want the sauce, so the last few pieces will be for those family members. I'm going to get the chicken into the sauce. We're going to toast it to combine, and I'm going to set it aside until we're ready to eat. Ideally, you would want to eat this pretty much right away, but I usually prepare dinner a little bit before we're ready to eat. So I'm going to have it sit in the sauce until we're ready to plate this up. So apparently I was hungry on this day and I didn't wait to plate this up. So I got out a plate. We're going to add some rice directly on the plate, and then we're going to top it off with our chicken. And I love having some extra sauce over the rice, so I'm going to drizzle a bit more sauce over that as well. And then off camera, I had cut up some scallions. I'm going to top the chicken with scallions and then finish it off with some of the remaining orange zest that I had put aside earlier. Wow, I like this. Ooh, the heat is so good.
It's extremely refreshing.
Wow. Heaven. Okay guys, so for today's dinner, we're going to do a shawarma chicken, and I'm going to serve it with some tahini and Israeli salad. The recipe is from this book, page 102. It's Shabbos in Yerushalayim. So I'm going to start off with marinating the chicken. Start off with 2 tablespoons of this. This is half paprika and oil, but if you can use Moroccan paprika, then you can use that instead. I'm going to do a half a tablespoon of smoked paprika. 1 tablespoon of this. I'm not going to butcher the pronunciation, so I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. A teaspoon of cumin. A teaspoon of turmeric. And then salt and pepper to taste. I'm going to mix this together. Okay, now the turmeric in here is going to color whatever it touches. So I got myself some gloves. And what I'm going to do, I'm getting a plate out. I'm going to get like half of this on the bottom. And I'm going to lay my chicken down. And try to get it coated on both sides. Usually, if I make this for the freezer, then I just toss it all in a bag and get it to coat the entire chicken. But since we're going to be making this tonight and not putting it in the freezer, we're trying it this way. Okay, so for now I'm going to cover this. I'm going to get it in the fridge. I'm going to let it marinate for about 2 hours. When we come back and it's time to preheat the oven to bake this is when I'm going to go out to the garden. I'm going to harvest some stuff to make our Israeli salad. That one will make our tahini and our salad. But now I'm going to get out some pitas so that they can start defrosting. Okay, so it's about 2.5 hours later. I've already preheated my oven. I just came in from the garden. So we're going to get the chicken onto the baking pan. But I'm going to do a little something here. Usually I just bake this like this for 20 minutes. I'm going to add something this time. Okay, so when I was outside earlier today, I harvested an onion. The tomatoes I had ripening in the house. Now the reason why I harvested this was because it broke off over here. It was all bent over. And I didn't know if it'll continue growing or not. So I figured I might as well enjoy it. So I'm going to cut. I washed the outside already. I removed the first layer. So I didn't go over the top and bottom. I'm going to remove another layer here. It's still pretty small. I have onions out there that are bigger than this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them into strips or slices. And I'm going to get them onto the cutting board with a little bit of oil. And I'm going to let it caramelize together. And we can enjoy it in our pitas. Now, I didn't tell you guys earlier, but when I usually buy shawarma in the store, first of all, it's not like this. They usually have it on the machines. They scrape it down. And it's hard to replicate that actual flavor at home. This is a recipe that I love. I've been making it for quite a long time already. And if I make it at home and I'm trying to replicate a takeout, this is what I'll do. Just usually when I buy it in the store, I do have them put it in a laffa, not in a pita. And with my hands, I was never able to wrap up the laffa and get it to stay inside when I'm eating. It always just falls out from the bottom. So until I know how to do that properly, I eat my homemade shawarma in a pita. So I'm going to get that on the board over there. Now I don't think I want to add olive oil on the board, so I'm going to use my spray instead. Okay, now this is going in a 350-degree oven for 20 minutes. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is the tahini because I like for that to set up a little bit in the fridge. So for this, we're going to start off with a half a cup of tahini paste. Next will be the juice of half a lemon. Now we need a garlic, so I have this garlic clove that came from the garden. And we're going to crush it. 2 tablespoons of olive oil, salt, and pepper to taste. Usually when I make this, I make a double recipe, and I do it in my food processor. But since I don't need a double recipe now, I'm just going to do it in here. So we're going to stir this to combine. Now this is quite thick, so we're going to add in half a cup of water and combine it. And this will get it to the desired consistency. And this will take a moment. It's been a little while since I did it in a jar like this. But it'll curdle first. It'll look worse before it gets better. But continue mixing. Now if you want, you can do it in a food processor like I usually do, especially if you have a small one. I just didn't want to pull out my small one right now. And do it in there, and while it's blending up, usually what I do when I blend it up is that I turn on the machine and I right away start drizzling in the water, because otherwise it gets very thick and I don't like that. So I have the water ready, turn on the machine, drizzle in the water. I think we're there. I'm just going to clear my spatula, make sure that anything that was stuck on there gets combined as well. And I'm going to set this in the fridge to thicken it up a little bit, because now it's still very loose, very liquid. And by sitting in the fridge, it's going to thicken up just a little bit. Okay, so here's what I've got for our Israeli salad. Pulled out a chunk of cucumber that it was starting to go bad, so I cut off the ends, and we're going to use the part that is good. I got a pickle out. We have our tomatoes from the garden. I got 2 very small red onions. This red pepper is pretty bad. I'll see if I can get anything out of it. If not, I do have some of the snacking peppers. Not red, but snacking peppers. We'll see if I can add some of those. The other half of our lemon. And I did find arugula in my fridge, so it's not typical for Israeli salad, but I'm just taking liberties here, and we'll make do with whatever we have. So I'm going to start by cutting up all the vegetables. I'm going to cut everything into roughly the same size pieces, so when we eat the salad, when it's all combined, we can get a little bit of everything in each spoonful or each bite. And I'm going to add everything to the bowl as I cut them up. Okay, I think cutting into this, it looks like it's still okay. It just doesn't have the same crisp exterior as if it was fresh. So I think I'm going to cut up. I'm going to start out with, I think I'll cut up all of it actually to create the bulk of the salad. It's good that I'm getting to these red onions because they're starting to go. I'm going to squeeze our lemon in there. I'm going to add some of the arugula with some olive oil, salt, and pepper. I'm going to give this a quick toss and taste to see if I should add salt and pepper. Wow, perfect. Okay. So I'm going to cover this, get it in the fridge. And our chicken should be ready. Okay, our chicken is ready. Our onions can use a bit more time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the chicken onto cutting board, because we usually cut them into small bite-sized pieces anyways. And then I'll get the cookie sheet back in the oven to finish the onions. I'm going to give this a little bit of a stir. I'm going to let this go until it's nice and caramelized. And I'll see you guys when we eat. Some of us ate already. I'm going to get to eating now. So I'm going to cut this into smaller bite-sized pieces. I'm going to get a bowl. And we're going to get the chicken in here. Now I've got our onions here. I'm going to get a little bit of that. I'm going to get some salad in here as well. I'm going to add some of the tahini in here. I'm going to toast this together. I'm going to cut this in half. These are not the best pitas. They feel very dry. Okay, so I open up the pocket and we're going to get this mix in here. And we're going to taste this. I mean, I've had it before, but we're going to taste it anyways, and I'll give you my opinion. I actually like the flavor of the arugula in there. It's really good. The onions are sort of getting lost between everything that's going on. Let me taste it, just because it's from the garden. Delicious. I love this because it's all just easy to eat. And it's a full meal. So I'm going to sit down. I'm going to enjoy this. And I'll see you when we make our next meal. So for today's takeout dupe, we're going to have Mongolian beef with fried rice. So we're going to start by tenderizing our beef, which is still a little bit frozen, actually. I let it defrost in the fridge overnight. So I want to make sure that the pieces are not too big. So I'm going to go through piece by piece. And once we get to the wider pieces over here, I'm going to cut them in half. And you see these are very big. So I think I'll just go like that. Since they're still a little bit frozen, it's quite easy to do it now. And I'm going to separate everything. And this, the recipe says you need to do it for at least an hour before you're going to cook this up to overnight. So now is 12 o'clock, and I will probably make dinner somewhere between 5 and 6. That's about when I usually start prepping dinner. And it should come together pretty fast once it gets to cooking. So we're going to start off with our fried rice. And I have some rice that I cooked up the other day, and I put it in the fridge. For fried rice, proper takeout dupe fried rice, it is best to use day-old rice. So I cooked some rice the other day for dinner. I made a bit more than I needed, and I put half of it in the fridge for today. Okay, so to tenderize this, I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of baking soda and 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. I'm going to make sure that all the meat gets coated. Okay, so this is all we're going to do for now. And we're going to come back later when it's time to cook all this up. So I'm going to set it in the fridge. And hopefully we'll have a nice tender beef when we're ready to cook this up. So we're going to start working on our fried rice, because I think I'm going to end up making the Mongolian beef in the same wok. I want to get this ready. It doesn't have to be steaming hot when I serve it, versus the beef, I would want it to be done cooking when I serve it right then. So I'm going to make this now. It might take a little break in between, or actually no, I'll make this. I have some vegetables that I harvested from the garden. I have 2 zucchinis and I have some snappies. So we're going to brown those in my cast iron skillet, and then we'll come back and make the beef. So I'm going to get out the wok because we're going to make it in here. I'm going to take out all my ingredients. I took out my rice that I have reserved from the other day. We're going to need some sesame oil. We need a small onion. We need frozen peas and carrots, but that I'm not going to take out right now. We're going to need some scallions, some soy sauce, and 2 eggs. So I'm going to start with chopping up our vegetables. So we need 4 scallions to go with our beef, and we need 2 tablespoons, which this should be enough for 2 tablespoons. Let me just see how we need it cut for the Mongolian beef, because I might as well do it now when I have my board out, because we don't need any vegetables other than this for it. Looks like we need it in chunks, like big pieces. The green parts only. Okay, so we'll use the white part to make for our fried rice as well. Let me wash this. I'm going to remove any parts that don't look like I would want to eat them. I had started so many scallions this year for my garden, but it got choked out by one of my squash plants, and I have nothing out there now. I thought that I started more, but I don't remember where I put it, and I don't see it coming up. And I think I used up all of my, what's it called? I think I used up the rest of my seeds. So I said we need 4 of the green parts only to go with our Mongolian beef. So I'm going to cut that up. I'm going to get it in a bowl, and we're going to set it in the fridge until we need it for the beef. Okay, so let me actually start with this, and let's see if I get the 2 tablespoons. I believe this is actually 2 tablespoons. Yeah, it looks like I'm not going to need the other 2, so I'm going to put this back in the fridge. And I'm going to chop up our onion. Now, before I start cooking everything down, I'm going to clean up the board. And we need our eggs lightly beaten, so I'm going to get it into the bowl and beat it. So now we can actually start heating this. So I'm going to turn this on, let it get nice and hot, which I could have started earlier. And we actually have to add our peas and carrots right away. We're going to start off with sesame oil, onions, and the peas and carrots. So I got the peas and carrots out of the freezer, and I'm going to measure it out so that once this gets nice and hot, we can just add everything. I'm reading the recipe while the wok is heating up, and it does say to serve this immediately, but I'm okay if it sits a little bit. I'm going to transfer it to a bowl, cover it with a plate to keep it steaming. I'm going to pull out the vegetables that I harvested this morning, but I probably will not be able to prep it as we're cooking the rice, because I will probably have to keep on stirring it constantly. But I did get 2 zucchinis today, and I just harvested these green beans. I don't think they're really edible yet, but I harvested them anyways to encourage more. And I got a few sweet peas. And I already washed these when I put them in from the garden. So this is feeling nice and hot already. So we're going to pour in about 2 tablespoons of sesame oil, along with our peas and carrots and our onions. You want this to become nice and tender. So I'm cutting my zucchini into like thick matchsticks. This one can actually cut in half. This already smells delicious. I'm going to move this to the side. We're going to get our eggs in here. And we're going to scramble this. Once it's cooked, we're going to combine it with the vegetables. Okay, now that this is combined, the recipe says to add 3 cups of rice, cooked rice. And this is definitely more than 3 cups, but I don't have what to do with the rest of them. So this is what we're going to use. And we're going to add 2 to 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. Now we're going to break up the rice and stir it all to combine. And we'll let the rice heat through. The rice was cooked with salt, and the soy sauce should add more seasoning to it. So I'm going to give it a taste test once I got it all combined and see if I need to add more. If it needs more flavor, I'll add more soy sauce because it is more rice than the recipe called for. And I enjoy cold fried rice as well. So I would eat this for lunch. I would add some protein to it and have it for lunch. I'll give this a taste test. I'm gonna add another like 2 tablespoons of soy sauce and mix it in. Let me taste it again. Delicious. Just gonna let it sit in on here for another minute or two to heat through all the way. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the heat. I'm gonna transfer this into a bowl and I'm gonna top it with our scallions. And I'm going to cover it with a plate to keep it warm. I'm gonna let this soak while I start heating up the cast iron skillet for the vegetables. I'm gonna finish cutting up our squash. For this, I usually do it on the grill. And I got myself this little squirt bottle to add soy sauce in because when I do it on the grill, I don't put any seasoning on it. But as soon as it comes over the grill, I like to drizzle it with a soy sauce. So I figured that from such a bottle, it'll be a lot easier to do that than directly from the big bottle. I figured I can do the same method, but do it on the stovetop instead of on the grill. Okay, I gave my wok a quick wash. I'm gonna set this aside. And this is already smoking. Perfect. So here I've got some beef fry fat or bacon fat. And I'm gonna get some of this into our skillet here. I'm gonna let this melt down. This adds so much flavor. I'm gonna leave it out because I wanna do the same thing with our snappies. Now we're gonna get our zucchini in here. And in order for it to develop nice color, I'm gonna do minimal stirring while it's cooking. So the green beans that are touching the pan are looking like they're starting to become tender. And they're developing nice color. Look at that. Beautiful. We're gonna let it sit again. And this doesn't take very long. It took like a minute or two. I'm gonna transfer it onto this plate once it's ready. So the reason why you want it to be on such a high heat is because I still want the zucchini to have some texture to it. So if it's really hot the pan, it'll develop the color very fast. I think I'm gonna pull it for all of this. And I'm gonna leave the pan going. And we're gonna add in our snappies. This is not a dupe to anything. It's just I'm using whatever vegetables we have coming out of the garden to make our vegetable side. Okay, now that we got all of this out of the pan, just gonna get our soy sauce and drizzle it over top. Let me taste this. I've never made it like this before. Let's see. Oh wow, delicious. Yeah, we are going to enjoy this. So for our beef, we need 2 cloves of garlic. So I'm gonna start by peeling that. I should have done this when I was doing the vegetables earlier. So these type of dishes, they go so fast so that you want to make sure that you have all your components ready before you start cooking it so that you can cook it without burning anything. We can bring the wok back. Gonna heat this up again. You want this to be over high heat. Gonna get our beef out and our scallions. And we're gonna need a little bit of ginger. Okay, our pan is already smoking, so I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of our sesame oil. And I think I'll do half at a time of our beef. I'm gonna let this cook through until it's almost done. I'm gonna get our ginger ready. I'm gonna peel it. I'm gonna grate it right over here on the board. It says to crush the garlic, but I think I'll do the same thing. I'll grate it. Flip over the beef so they can cook on the second side. Got some nice color on there. I'll grate the garlic. This batch of beef is done. I'm gonna get this out. And while that's going, I'm gonna get our stuff ready for our sauce. So we need a 1/4 cup of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of water, and we're gonna need a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. So I have that ready. I just don't want to combine that with a liquid because I don't want it to settle on the top, become syrupy. I mean on the bottom, settle on the bottom, become syrupy, and then I won't be able to get it out of the measuring cup. I'm gonna lower the heat a little bit. We're gonna add some oil again. Gonna let this heat up. We're gonna add our garlic and ginger. I'm gonna let this cook down until it's nice and fragrant. This won't take very long. You don't want it to brown. Smells delicious already. We're going to add our soy sauce and water along with our sugar. Going to mix this. We're going to let it come to a simmer, and then we'll add our meat back in. Try to scrape up some of that umami on the bottom of the wok. We're going to add our meat back in. And we're going to let this cook down until the sauce thickens and coats all of the meat. And the meat is going to continue cooking now as this is happening. I'm going to turn off the heat on this. I'm going to move it away from the heat as well. Or, no, I wanted to coat the meat a little bit more, so I'm okay if it sits over the heat for another minute. Actually, I forgot. We have to add this in. Toss it together. Okay. I usually like Mongolian beef a bit spicy, so I'm going to add some red pepper flakes. That was probably like a 1/2 teaspoon. I usually like them a bit more saucy, so if I like this recipe and I want to make it again, I would probably double the sauce. So to plate this up, I'm gonna get some rice. I'm gonna get my meat over it. And I'm gonna get some of our zucchini in here. And a little bit of our snow peas, or a little bit of our snap peas, so that all of us can enjoy it. And look at this plate. This plate is getting me so excited. It looks so good. So I got a beef with some of our scallion. I'm going to taste this. Wow, that's good. Oh yes. This is a good dupe. Let me eat. This is how I usually eat it. Some rice together with the beef. So this cut of beef wasn't, the piece of beef that I just had wasn't as tender. So I'm thinking next time I would probably defrost the meat the night before or have fresh beef and let it tenderize from early morning, not from 12 o'clock. And the vegetables I already tasted. This dinner is perfection. I'm gonna enjoy this, and I'll see you guys the next time I'm in the kitchen. So for today's dinner, we're gonna have Wendy's imitation spicy chicken sandwich. Now I have in my freezer some sourdough buns that I made a couple weeks ago. I totally forgot about it. I reorganized my freezer the other day and I saw it, so I figured we can use this today. And we each usually like to eat more than one sandwich. So I'm taking out some more buns to defrost. And I also went outside and I harvested a few things from my garden. We got some kale, some broccoli. This is a banana pepper. We got a carrot, a radish, and some of our sweet pea tomatoes, which are these teeny tiny tomatoes. So I'm gonna make a salad with this. I am gonna set the vegetables in the sink so I can clean them. Actually, let me clean it now so that they can spin dry while we start preparing the rest of our stuff. So because I got mostly broccoli and kale, I did do a quick search for a recipe that I don't have enough to make the full recipe, so I'll just use it as inspiration. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to heat up some oil. I'm going to turn on the heat, and now we can start making our breading station. For the breading station, we need 2 bowls. I'm going to start off with a 3/4 cup of flour in one bowl. along with a 3/4 cup of panko breadcrumbs. For the spices, we're going to start off with 1.5 teaspoons of salt. We're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of cornstarch. Now the recipe does call for 4 teaspoons of cayenne pepper, but not everyone in my family likes it that spicy, so I usually do a couple of pieces first, then I add the cayenne pepper and bread the rest of them. So we're going to do 3/4 teaspoon of pepper, 2 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, and 1.5 teaspoons of garlic powder. Now we can mix this together. And I usually just use my measuring spoon because I'm not going to use it again for anything else. I'm going to put everything away except for the cayenne pepper. For our wet part, we're going to do 1 egg, 1/3 cup of water, and 1/3 cup of hot sauce. But again, that we're going to do later. I'm going to beat this up. Now I'm going to get a plate out to place my chicken on while I'm coating them. And then I'm going to get out a cookie sheet with a cooling rack inside, and we'll get our chicken on here once they come out of the oil so that they stay crispy and the oil can drip off. Now I've got our chicken here, and what we're going to do is I'm going to take each cutlet, cut it in half so that they fit better on the burger bun. So I take the length of it and I just cut it in half like this so it looks more like a burger size. And we're going to do crumb, egg, crumb. This is ready to go into the oil once the oil is ready. And this by itself is a great just chicken for a chicken sandwich. If you want it spicy, look what I'm going to do next. And you can adjust the spices. If you don't like it as spicy, it tends to get pretty spicy, do less. Now the recipe does call for 4 teaspoons of cayenne. I usually end up doing about 3 because I already breaded 1 chicken and it's still pretty spicy. Whoa! Ow. Now before I add the hot sauce in the egg mixture, I'm going to add the chicken into the pan so they can start frying and the oil temperature doesn't keep on rising. So as soon as I add the chicken, it's going to start, the temperature is going to drop. And I've had some times where it got so hot that the chicken got burned before it fried. So this is what you want. You want as soon as whatever it is you're frying goes in, it should start sizzling like it's doing now. If it doesn't sizzle like that, then the oil wasn't hot enough. And that's when whatever you're frying will become super greasy. If you wait for your oil to be hot enough, then the oil won't stick to it because it starts cooking it right away instead of just letting the oil go into the food. So I added a 1/3 cup of the hot sauce. I'm going to beat this together. And I'm going to quickly bread another one to get it in there. And I usually tend to get a bit sneezy. My nose tickles a bit from the spice in all this. As I'm breading it, the dust of the cayenne pepper comes up into my nose. And if you didn't get it by now, the way I'm talking, this is something that I've already made in the past. And I know that my family enjoys it. And I've been making it for many years actually. We've actually never had this on the sourdough bun, so we'll see how we enjoy it on that. So I'm going to continue breading the rest of them while that's frying. And you're going to see that there's a difference in color when it is done between the spicy and not spicy chicken. So if you're doing it like this for your family, some spicy, some not, you're going to be able to tell the difference once they're out of the oil. So while that's frying up, I'm going to make our salad. I'm going to start with the dressing. I'm thinking I'll make the entire recipe. I can have it in the fridge for a later time because now that we're getting more consistently the broccoli and kale harvest, I can make more of these salads if we like it. I'm gonna do it straight in a jar. Okay, I'm gonna start off with a 1/4 cup of olive oil. We're gonna add some lemon juice. The recipe does say to use fresh, but I don't have any lemons in the house right now, so we'll use bottled. And the recipe does call for red wine vinegar, which I also don't have, so we'll use white wine vinegar instead. A tablespoon of Dijon mustard. I'm gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of oregano, a little bit of black pepper. So you can use any sweetener of choice, 1 teaspoon of it. I would love to go with honey, but I didn't know how it would incorporate if it's not melted. So I'm using sugar instead. And now 1 clove of garlic minced. I'm just gonna do it in my crusher. And I've been loving garlic from the garden. They are so good. And I'm just gonna shake it to incorporate it all. I should really have tasted this before I put everything away. I'm just gonna take a little bit on my hand. Nice and refreshing. Okay, I set that in the fridge for now. I'm gonna start prepping the vegetables. Okay, I'm gonna make the salad in a container because we are planning to eat this as a picnic dinner. We love doing picnics in our own backyard. So for the kale, I'm gonna remove any parts that don't look the best, and I'm gonna cut it up. And our broccoli, or broccolini, I'm also going to chop up. And I'm gonna include the stems because they do pack a lot of nutrient punch. I am going to cut our tomatoes in half. This I'm just gonna leave out so that we can eat it plain. But the radish I am going to dice up as well. And then I'm gonna check what else the recipe calls for that I have in the house, or what else I can substitute in for it. Okay, now I want to show you the difference. I don't know if it comes up on camera, but these two are lighter than these. These have more of a reddish orange tinge to them, and this is more white and golden. These are the ones without the cayenne pepper and hot sauce. These are the spicy ones. So it is quite easy to tell in real life which one is the spicy, which one is not. So the recipe calls for some chopped almonds. I have slivered almonds, so I'm going to add some of that. So it does call for red onion, and I have these small ones, so I think one of this will be perfect for this amount of salad. Okay, so in my fridge I found some scallions, so I think I'll cut that in as well because I don't want it to go bad. And I did harvest a carrot from the garden, if you didn't see, but my family enjoyed munching on it as is, so I don't have it for the salad. The salad does call for some shredded carrots, and I did have a bag of carrots in my fridge that I had gotten in the store. So I want to get through that before I harvest anything from the garden. So we are going to just use this. And the scallions I did wash the other day and remove the first layers because I thought that I'll need it for something else. In the end, I didn't need it. So I'm gonna give this a quick toss, and we're gonna set it in the fridge, and we're gonna dress it right before we wanna eat this. So I'll see you guys later when we're building our sandwiches. Okay, so I prepared a sandwich building station here, and the recipe does say to use lettuce, tomato, pickle, mayo, because that would be traditional to a Wendy's chicken sandwich. But you can customize it. Since you're making it at home, you can customize it to have whatever you want. And I made some mayo because we didn't have any. I have some pickle. I had an avocado that was going to go bad, and I love those on sandwiches. And I have some sauteed onions. I make them in big batches, and I freeze them so I can always have fresh sauteed onions without having to put in the effort. But first, before we start building our sandwiches, we're going to toss our salad with some of the dressing. So I don't want to add too much, but I'd rather add more because if I add too much, I can't take it away. And I don't have more lettuce to add to it, more kale and more broccoli. And just remember, the recipe does say that you can add poppy seeds. I'm going to add a little bit of it in here as well. So I'm going to taste this, and we'll see how I like the vinaigrette. I definitely like it. The question is if the rest of my family will like it. I'm going to take this out with us for our picnic. So I'm going to set that aside. But I'm going to start building my sandwich. Everybody builds their own in the family. So I've got one of our sourdough buns here. I'm going to start with some mayo on both sides. And I do usually like to put down lettuce first. And I feel like that helps protect the bun from getting soggy. But this is it's not a very soft bun, so I'm okay with that. And anyways, I don't have any right now. I'm gonna place our chicken on there. I'm gonna get a few slices of avocado. I'm gonna get some of this onion on here and some pickles. Now, if you want, you can cut the sandwich in half. I usually don't do that. But look at this sandwich. This looks so good. I am going to enjoy this. Thank you so much for coming along with me and cooking. I hope these 4 takeout style dinners inspired you to skip the delivery today and try something delicious at home, or actually down the road to save these recipes. Now, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe for more recipes and kitchen inspiration, and especially to see those recipes that you didn't get to see today. I'd love to hear which one of these you're trying first. Until next time, happy cooking!